Hello, this is Terrablox, and this is the first weekly update after the initial showcase. Since we last spoke, the main updates to the game have been some improvements to tokens. So the first thing I want to show off is that they now have optional facing directions. So if you have a sprite sheet and you lay out multiple facing directions just in a line, left or right, with front, left, back, so on, you can come into the token definition and define it to use those spacings and define how many sides it has. So here, this pink character at the bottom is using the old style where it just always rotates towards you, so it's a single image. And then I got a Final Fantasy Tactics character up here that has 8 facing directions, and Chrono from Chrono Trigger, which is Super Nintendo style and only has 4 directions. I think they both look pretty good. Actually, I kind of think the 4 directions is a bit more charming, although obviously the 8 directions better matches up to kind of the aesthetic here. When you have a token selected, you can rotate it with Q and E. That also works while you're moving, so you can rotate and move at the same time. If you hold Alt and click and drag, you'll get a freeform rotation, so you can go to any exact angle. If you have a one face token, so here this character only has one facing, but I'm going to enable the facing direction. Then what you'll get is instead of it billboarding, it will just face towards whatever direction you get. So still kind of keeps the look of it being a standee or cutout. I did test this also with just having two faces, or two sides, I should say. So it should work with kind of any number of sides in theory. So Chrono obviously has Chrono has 4 sides, and then Final Fantasy Tactics has 8 sides. But here I tried loading just front and back, and still kind of works. And then I've been showing off the characters mostly with sprites, but just to show that it does work with any image. There's also some Lancer characters over here. So it doesn't have to be a low res like sprite style image. I just kind of like that aesthetic and think it looks interesting next to all the voxels. The other changes, I made the bases transparent just so you can kind of see what's going on under them. And of course, when they have the facing turned on, they get this indicator arrow. The other big change is the edit dialog itself. So when you edit a token, you have a bunch of new options. So there's the new facing direction stuff. So you can choose whether or not this token has direction and how many sides are in the image that you're loading. There's also just a little bit of a rearrangement in here, kind of grouping things together in a way that made more sense. It's also now with these notes fields. So every token can have notes, and then it also has notes, or like a second box of notes that are only visible to the GM. So if I don't have GM permission, then this other box would be gone entirely. I would just see the notes field as a big box. And that's only going to be visible if you own this token. So if you're allowed to move it or see it, then you're allowed to see the notes for that token. There's also this new stats system. So over here, this token has been assigned to the default template, which has 2 stats defined in it. So I got HP, which I can increase and decrease. I can also control the max. And then AC, which is just a number. Conditions are also moved over here to the right, and these are still just free form. You can kind of write in any label you want there. These all show up if you hold shift. Oh, did I just cancel out of that? Got a bug. We apparently lost the condition label, so I'll have to fix that. But yeah, you can see the HP and AC are showing up here under the token when I hold shift, along with the token's name. Those conditions like stun should be showing up here also. It looks like I broke that at some point. The way these work is if you go into GM mode, you can actually control these templates, and these have a bunch of different options. So you can add labels, or you can add new values and give them whatever label you want. You can define a default value, a min, a max, and how much it steps by. So whether it goes by whole numbers or maybe 0.5 or whatever. You can allow whether or not it's allowed to go above the max or below the minimum, and whether or not it gets shown below the token when the players are holding shift. You can choose whether or not the minimum and maximum are allowed to be edited and whether they're actually shown in the edit dialog. Or rather, like if I show the max, then that's what's causing HP to show as like 10 out of 20. Whereas if I disable this, it would just show 10. And then for each value, you can also control permissions on who's allowed to see it. It could be everyone, only people that own that token, or only the GMs. And then editing can also be anyone, only owners, or only the GM. And you can add as many different stats in here as you want. Oh, and you can control how they're displayed also, so as whole numbers, decimals, percents, or booleans. And if you set it to a boolean, which is like yes, no, you can customize the yes, no label. So you could have this be like awake, asleep, standing, crouched, kind of whatever pair of states you want. You can have multiple tokens or multiple templates in a campaign. So you could have your more complicated player template, and then maybe a simpler NPC and monster template. Maybe a different template for each class, things like that. And then when you're editing the token as a GM, you can choose which of those templates it actually uses. These templates are stored as markdown files, and that's to start laying the foundation for this idea I have, where I kind of want to make it so that the campaign folder can be opened in Obsidian, and then all of your notes and everything just kind of work as an Obsidian vault. That's not really true yet, because it's mostly storing in JSON and stuff like that, but that's kind of an idea that I'm working towards, and I want the campaign journal and the token notes and so on to all be accessible in Obsidian in a way that works back and forth with editing them in the game itself. The other changes are added the procedural sky. So there's actually a sun up there now, and in the scene settings, you can control sky color, horizon color, stuff like that. So here, let's have a red sky, for instance. Maybe a yellow horizon. I guess it should be darker. Yeah, there we go. You can control the ground color. Maybe we'll have like a kind of a dark brown ground. And then all of this responds to, like as you change the sun intensity and the sky intensity and stuff like that. Then let's see. There were also small changes to the back-end lighting, so it's still just CPU based. It's barely touching the GPU at all. But I think at this point I've hopefully gotten rid of all the little pauses, so there should not be any pauses while you're building. So if I build a wall here, I can just keep building walls. And then you see like it does take a moment for the lighting to kind of recalculate and settle once those walls are built. But at least now it doesn't actually pause the main thread and freeze the game. Like before, it was giving you like a quarter to a half second freeze whenever you placed a block. So now that works in the background. It does take a few seconds for it to settle, but makes building a much more pleasant experience. There are also a couple bug fixes, like this kind of like random texture noise could be accidentally removed if you were repainting blocks. And then just generally, I went through the UI and kind of rearranged some things, tried to make things make a little bit more sense as far as how they are arranged and grouped. The UI right now is still very minimal. You know, that we're not even close to feature complete. Haven't really done much playtesting, so a lot of this stuff is intentionally kept very simplistic so that it's easy to change. And then I think that's it. So yeah, the new version is available from itch, same as before. So you'll find a download link for that in the description. Please download it, try it out. If you make some cool stuff, send me some screenshots. Multiplayer is still a bit finicky unless you're able to do port forwarding, but I would love to hear if anyone tries this and how the actual experience felt. Super interested to see if anyone builds anything and and is playing around with cool lighting and stuff like that. You know, I've got my little test scene here where I've just been kind of like throwing things in here as I think of them, but it would be fun to see some real constructions. All right, thank you for watching, and it will hopefully have another update next week.